Oh, now I know why. I had my mic set up and I forgot because I came into this at the last minute. Um, Multitasking, which is not always a good thing, as we've just learned. And I didn't have my mic turned on, and this is connected to my mic. So I think now you can hear me. Can you let me know if you can hear me now? It's showing that my mic is connected. Oh my goodness. All right, guys. I think now you should be able to hear me. And I'll just quickly summarize and say thank you again. Welcome to episode 78 of Celebrity Customer Experience, where we riff on anything and everything employee experience to customer experience and why it's so important to be able to have a great employee experience, or any whatever your employee experience is will lead to the same customer experience. And thank you, Lorena, my friend, for being here and letting me know that I had that tech problem. Again, multitasking is not a good thing. Studies have shown that multitasking actually is detrimental on the one thing that you're doing. And I was involved, I believe in continuous learning, and I was involved in a business online workshop and was busy doing that and didn't want that to overlap into here. So here we are. I'm a perfect example, right? We all mess up. We all have problems, and we find solutions, and we learn from it. So I won't ever do that again. So thank you. I'm sorry for this kind of crazy start. Um, and thank you, Lorena. Thank you for joining as always. And thanks for having my back and letting me know that I had tech problems. So let's dive in. I was saying when you couldn't hear me, the reason why it's called Celebrity Customer Experience, which I haven't discussed in a little while. Um, we are all human beings. Thank you. Yes, I've given you a perfect example of how being human and making mistakes. And you know what? It's okay. It's how we recover, right? That's what matters at the end of the day. Yes, Lorena, it's okay. We're all human. So, and I was just saying that it's called Celebrity Customer Experience. I haven't talked about this in a little while because we all know how celebrities are treated, regardless of what they do and where they go, what they're purchasing, what they're experiencing. Everyone gives them extra pampering treatment. And I believe strongly that we all deserve that. Why not? At the end of the day, the money you make from them is the same money you're making from anyone else, and it all is equal in the bank. So, um, thanks, Lorena. I love you. And it's so great to have you here. And I know that you always have my back as I do yours. And I think we all need people like that in our lives, whether it's personal and business. There's definitely an overlap. I've really enjoyed getting to know Lorena this past year, year and a half through COVID and through being active on LinkedIn. It's been really great. So, um, all right, so let's dive in. If you're watching live, like Lorena, who commented, and I could see her comments and communicate with her online, please do comment. Join in the conversation today as we dive into the topic. And if you're watching the replay, please, I apologize for the mess up in the beginning, but hopefully you hung in there with me, and comment as well. Tag me so we can engage in the conversation after the fact. So I want to start by asking you, are you leading your organization from the inside out or from the outside in? Now, what does this even mean? Okay, so let's start with breaking that down. The outside in approach is often what we hear from with most CX, most customer experience leaders, executives in their companies who are assigned to work on the customer experience, customer service, um, customer experience technology and AI, looks at what's happening from the customer's expectations and the customer's experience, and then figures out, okay, how do we now drive our systems, our protocols, what we do, what does our brand offer so that we're meeting our customers' desires, needs, wants. Now, the opposite is the inside out. And that is where you're looking internally into the company first, and you're looking at what's going on in that company how do we create the brand, the values that we want within, so that our external customers, our end customers will feel that, and that you're still not ignoring what the customer wants, so that you're meeting the needs of your customer. So there's definitely, you cannot do, as I said in the beginning, which you missed, that employee experience and customer experience are intrinsically connected. They are inseparable. It's a matter of where you start with your focus. Okay, so now that this is clear, I want to ask you, are you leading your organization from the inside out or the outside in? Okay, I've explained how most CX people, technology, software, focus, lean in, what their perspective, their vantage point in. I, however, take a different focus. And my perspective is the inside out. So it's why, in fact, I have named my proprietary process and methodology the inside out framework. And it's where we look at the inside first. It's top down, it's inside out, it's employee experience to customer experience, therefore, my brand, EX to CX. Lorena says, of course, I love you, Jill. Thank you, honey. And inside out, living your core values. Bingo. That's exactly right. You have to first know who you are as a company. What is your brand? And you can't always be guided by what your customer wants in that moment. Once you've built a customer following, yes, you have to listen to your customers. But if you are constantly flipping and flopping and going on the latest trends and following the hot new thing because your customers suddenly decide they want something else, you're not true to who you are. You're not true to your brand. And then suddenly your brand will have no meaning, no purpose, no North Star, no spine for people to know, oh, when I want something, I think of your company, right? And fill in your company name. People know what Apple stands for, and they know when to go to Apple for what. Same thing for Nike, for Amazon, right? They each have their own values, their own high core values, and their brand promise and what that's for. And people, if you've done the right job, people will know what that is, both through your marketing, your branding, and all of that. But they're going to know who you are through your people, through your employees. And I believe it's really important to look at educating your people first on who those values are, what that promise is, who you are, what you stand for, what you mean. And when you do that, you've educated your people, and they're your front facing your front face to your customers, who you are. Then your company's going to be known. People are going to come to you because they will know who you are, what you stand for. You can't be wishy-washy and changing all the time. If you want to have a long-standing, prosperous, efficient company, it's with being totally secure and confident of who you are, finding the customer base that appreciates that and comes back to you repeatedly, becomes your advocates. In fact, starting with the inside, your employees, I believe my tagline is creating and turning employees into your advocates and customer magnets. Lorena adds, the core values of an organization must be living inside out always. Absolutely. Again, why my process is the inside out framework, so that every decision that's made, everything that you do is consistently reflected back and mirroring what those high values are in your company. Building on what I've said, American Express, customer commitment. We develop relationships that make a positive difference in our customers' lives. Absolutely. We know when we're doing business. I've been an American Express customer for decades. I put every charge I can possible on my Amex, largely because I know the service they offer. I know the security they offer me. They've got my back. If there's ever any conflict or some sort of fraudulent charges, they immediately on it. I mean, it's huge. It's known, that's the part of their brand promise. It's why I'm a lifetime customer of theirs and would always recommend people to go for it. Other examples: Google's values: focus on the user, and all else will follow. Right? Like we all know today, right? It's a verb. We Google things. How did they become who they are? By creating this value of knowing what the user wants and providing that. Everything will follow. And that's what I believe, that when we set that high value and we align every decision that's made in the company, from our recruitment, from our hiring process, to our onboarding, to the education of our people, how we engage, what kind of systems do we create, what kind of interactions do we create in order to lead by example of that engagement that we want. What kind of communication do we want to have with our people? How do we want them to speak to each other? How do we want them to be speaking with our customers, so that they understand that reflects the values of who we are as a company? Lorena adds, having core company values can help you ensure each of your employees, from top leadership to entry level, are walking towards the same common goal and share a bigger purpose. Absolutely. I talk about and deliver in my signature talk about creating a purpose driven goal for your company. It's not task driven. It's not like, okay, we're hiring you to perform this certain task or to have this certain title in your company, which then gives you these tasks. Yes, you have to have these responsibilities, but ultimately, we want to create a business where we are purpose driven, which is around the company's goals and objectives, and that everybody's taking company ownership, that they feel that pride of ownership for working for that company, that pride of working for a company. Recently, I just was a guest on and interviewed on a podcast for a newer company, but very strong and successful, already working with big brands, called Work Proud. And it's all around this concept of acknowledging and rewarding your people, making a culture where people are proud to be a part of that, are proud to work in that. And that's really the model that I grew up in. You've probably heard me mention before, people who have worked for my dad from the early days. My parents opened McDonald's number 150 and owned multiple franchises over decades, 35 years before my dad passed away prematurely. And it doesn't ever really get that much easier. But it's so inspirational to me, actually, because he continues to live on in me, and the work that I learned, the foundation, the values. And I interview people who work for him, and they say to me, Jill, we took pride in the work we did because we knew your father was proud of us. He respected us. We respected him. I felt like when when the corporation came in to do evaluations and the store wasn't good, or whatever numbers and whatever scores we were given in our evaluations, that reflected on me. I felt like I was the owner of the company, even though I know Mr. Raff was. Now, isn't that the exact type of employee that everyone wants? It's buy-in, it's ownership. He had a purpose. He was driven, and it was company driven. It was purpose driven. And all of these experiences really have created is the foundation and what became my inside out framework, and why it was based on the employee journey. It's why now I offer employee journey mapping for clients, because so many people, customer experience professionals, often do customer experience mapping, customer journey mapping, and that's very common. And I've been talking about the focus needs to be on the inside first. And now people are starting to switch and include that because of the pandemic. But it's something that I've been doing and saying for a long time, is that we need to look at what's happening inside. And so this employee journey is something that, as I said, is the framework, the structure of my inside out framework. And it comes from handling challenges used from my upbringing experiences with working with all aspects of McDonald's for 35 years. It came about when I had to create an entirely new division and a new design company, a collection for Emmanuel Ungaro, the Emmanuel collection. And I used my skills and experiences to create new systems from the development of the product, the idea that I was knitwear in particular. And so it was choosing the yarns. It was where we'd run production based on cost and duty and quality and my customers' needs and desires and price point was always the driver. It was always the thing that was in my mind. It really doesn't matter, as I've said before, what product or service that you're selling. At the end of the day, my process is the same. And it's developed from all my different experiences. I use my experiences of building my business as a food stylist, starting from increasing my knowledge in baking and cooking from learning at Le Cordon Bleu in Paris, working in Michelin to Harrod's Pastry Kitchen. I mean, I say I'm McDonald's to Michelin because truly those are very different ends of the spectrum, but each teach overlapping skills and values and knowledge, and yet also unique ones, all super important. Creating the business from ground zero, creating the systems, the outreach, offering value, communication. All of these came about in my real estate business. I had to think of all of those details, and guess what? All of them now are incorporated into my inside out framework because all of these skills and value sets are super, super important, regardless of what you're selling. I want to make sure that's really clear because so many people say, well, maybe you don't have experience in this industry or that industry. But guess what? What I help companies with has nothing to do with what you're selling. Yes, I go in, we look at specifically what you're doing, and because I want to customize it and make sure we're dealing with your unique challenges, but I want to just throw out something that might be a little controversial. People will always think, yeah, but our company's a little different. We don't have the same problems. And I know it may seem like that. And in fact, your problem may be unique for the history of your company, but I can guarantee you probably 99% of the time, the problems are very similar. And actually, think about this. The symptom, which often is perceived as the problem, is usually just the symptom of the root of the problem, of the cause. Um, Thanks again, Lorena. She said, of course, society now wants to support purpose driven organizations 100%. And I am so happy to see that our society as a whole really is diving in and recognizing the bigger picture. And, in the past, it's always been these big companies about bottom line, bottom line, bottom line. Well, guess what? The bottom line is our people that represent our company. They will make or break your company, regardless of what you're selling. It's a harsh reality, but I think it's something that's an awakening during this pandemic time. And Lorena's, I love your passion, Jill. Thank you. Thank you. I am so passionate about it. I feel so strongly about helping companies create that connection culture, to create a collaborative, cohesive team in your company, to create a culture where everybody feels they matter, they're important, their voices are heard, they are contributing to the success of what's going on, and they're being recognized for that contribution. I mean, think about it. So many things I find now is really mirrored in parenting. And even if you're not a parent, maybe you're a parent of a pet, right? Or even if not that, we see it in everyday communications and interactions. And that is when you show someone you're speaking with, and again, it could be parenting, it could be just managing, leading. I like the word leading more than managing. We've talked about that too. There's a big difference. But when you look someone in the eye and you acknowledge them, you call them by their name. It's the most beautiful sound in any language to that person, that hearing their name. and you say, I want to hear what you have to say. I want to know what your contribution is to this company. What is your experience? We know in the C-suite, right? In the corner, window suites, or now we're often home, but as we start to go back to the companies, or even just in terms of title, we know what we think we're putting out there. But where's the gap? Tell us what you think. What is your experience? And how do we make our company better? How do we make our delivery systems internally and externally better for you? Because we know when we make our company better for you inside, then naturally it will be a better experience on the outside to our external customers, because our internal customers, our first line customers, which are super important, are in fact our own people, our employees. So, gosh, let's see. So, talked a lot about a lot of different things, and thank you, Lorena, for joining this conversation, which of course has taken it to a new level and pointed out so many great points that are in our alignment, and why we, I think, click and are in sync so much, because we do have those same values. And we touched on a bunch of things. We talked a little bit about the gaps that end up being created if you're not speaking to your people and asking and communicating what those things are. Then at the end of the day, you will end up finding that that gap between is greater and greater and greater. It's why I start out working with people and doing a gap analysis to really get an understanding of what's happening internally. That's how we stop the great resignation. Right now, companies are aching with lack of people coming and wanting to work at your company. Why? Because you haven't distinguished why you're the employer of choice. What are you doing to create that distinction for people to want to come work for you? Let's have a conversation. If you don't know what that is, let's have a conversation and see if we can figure out what that is and how I can help you with that. Um, and then people are having a problem with the great resignation, right? Why are they leaving? There's so many factors that could be included. And I think we need to address that too. And again, conversation, complimentary, no obligation. Sometimes, and I think most of the time, in fact, we need to look outside. We need fresh eyes, fresh ears on what's going on in our company. It's very hard sometimes to see the forest from the trees, right? When you're in the forest, it's very hard to see the individual beauty and benefit of the actual trees that are surrounding you. Um, yeah, Lorena says they need to have better leadership. Absolutely. But, I think part of the problem is, so what's going on with our leadership today? Does the leadership understand what's going on? Do they understand this paradigm shift that's going on right now? And there's a big problem even with the resignation of leadership, the churn in leadership. So many things that are important. And without strong leadership, of course, starting out with them living and walking the walk, talking the talk, showing by example with their people, not speaking to their people, showing them through example of what their values are, living your values, right? So again, parenting, we look at, there was a great public announcement that ran years ago with showing parents doing certain things and the child watching. And they're saying, you know what? Your children are listening and learning all the time. And that's so true. That's the same with leadership. Your people are watching, they're listening. You need to show them through example of what your values are and give them opportunities for them to live independently, to make those independent choices within their business life that they're living, that they're doing, the responsibilities that they hold. Lorena continues to say they need to live the core values from top down, from down to top. So it's from the bottom up, and it's from the top down. But it will never happen from the bottom up if leadership isn't guiding them as to what they want from their particular brand and their values. Needs self-awareness, Absolutely. Self-awareness all day long. And it's a tough thing to find and to make happen and to live into. It is a life work, that awareness, but awareness is the first step to actually making those changes. Leadership is failing. Leaders must be servant leaders, period, says Lorena. I agree. I follow, I have an acronym for leadership and how a company should work both internally with their people as well as externally with their customers. And it's Shark. And I will run through it quickly because we're just about out of time. But you've heard me talk probably before. Shark, I could do a whole session. I think I will do a whole episode just on my Shark philosophy and methodology. And that is, from what Lorraine is saying, is being servant leaders. So I believe that we need to serve from heart. And that means really being um, selfless and thinking about the needs of our people. When it comes internally, it's what are the needs of our employees, and externally, what are the needs of our customers? Serve from heart, not selfish motives. The H is to really hear and listen, to really listen to what's going on, not just hear what's happening, but really listen to what your people are saying, the voice of your people. A, acknowledge and appreciate. Everyone needs to be acknowledged and wants to know they're appreciated for their contribution. Even if it's something small, acknowledge it and show appreciation. The R is an R squared. So it's respect and resolution. Again, basic human need, respect. Show people you respect them. They will show you respect back. It is a reciprocal arrangement. It's the universal law of reciprocity. And resolution, people are coming to your business for some sort of resolution. It doesn't mean that there's a problem. It means maybe they want to buy something. They're looking for something they need. Or if they've had a problem, they're coming back for service. Don't make them wait on the phone for hours. Don't make them stand around looking for support. I was in a store the other day. I wanted to look at something that was locked up. Oh my gosh, I walked up and down this huge department floor. I couldn't find one single person to help me. Be there. Help find the solution. And K is my favorite, which is kindness. Show kindness. It's a basic human need that we all appreciate. It's so easy. It is free. It costs you nothing, and the rewards are priceless. Let's see. Leadership is not a position, it's a decision. I love that, Lorena. Absolutely. Make a choice to lead, not just manage your people, which is, to me, I think of management as controlling them, right? You're managing a situation, you're controlling a situation, you're having to go in and kind of move pieces around. Lead by example. When you're a leader, you are actually showing people what to aspire to. You are giving them the opportunity for them to live into their full potential. That's what leadership is about. It's not guiding them along, it's not giving them little nibbles along the way and telling them, okay, do this, now do that through tasks. It's a bigger picture. My personality profile isn't ENFP. I think I'm on the borderline of a few things, but the EN is the bigger part. Extrovert, probably clearly. I get my energy from people. Thank you, Lorena. I get my energy when I brainstorm with Lorena, and N is the big picture, right? So I like to look at the big picture, leading from the big picture, but of course, making sure that you have those people around you to create those systems, to think about the details. I'm a super detailed person by nature, but my training as a both a fashion designer and knitwear in particular, which is super, super detailed, and a fashion designer, seeing those little things, those have honed, and a food stylist, I should say, those things have honed my natural skills and gifts anyway. But so, wow, so much more. But I think this kind of really gives you, hopefully, at least a start of understanding why it is so important to think about your business from the inside out. I believe more than the outside in. Now, not to say that my way is the only way. I'm not like that. I do believe that in some good conversation, and I think there are advantages to both. But thanks, Lorena, for your heart, metaphorically, physically, and literally. Um, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this contribution, on this conversation, this topic. Please continue, if you're watching the replay, to comment along the way. Join Lorena and I in this conversation, and more next week. And Lorena, I've had you on before talking about branding, and you're so brilliant at that. And I see you've been making a shift now to leadership, and clearly you have shown yourself to be a great leader in that. So I think I need to have you back on the show where we can continue this conversation about leadership, because it is important. And without great strong leadership, then you can't have this model of the inside out framework that I lay out. And I think it's really, really important. So we will definitely do that. And Lorena says, love you, Jill. Thank you, honey. I love you too. And you're doing such great things out there. And I look forward to more conversations. Thank you, everyone, for joining today. I do just want to share with you also how to reach out to me if you want to have a conversation about what this looks like in your business. Let's have that conversation. I'm all about having open conversations, seeing where it leads, seeing if we're a good fit. We may not be. And if it's not me, then I am all about giving referrals to someone else who can help you where you are in your business. So for me, it's about really just doing what I can to make a difference, to have that impact, to help you make those changes, to help you stop the great resignation in your business. And I love to be that resource. So Lorena says, have a great day. Thank you. You too. Everyone out there, wishing you a great rest of your day. And I really look forward to seeing you next week, next Thursday, same time, same place. No, actually, next Thursday, I believe, is Thanksgiving. Oh my gosh, I can't even believe it. So I will notify you when we'll change the time next week, since it's Thanksgiving. I wish everyone a wonderful Thanksgiving, and we'll see you again soon next week on another hot topic. And thanks for joining Celebrity Customer Experience Riffs with me, and where we riff on anything and everything employee experience, customer experience, and join in the riff. Thanks so much.